on September 29th of 2020, the Browns are 2-1. And as far as I'm concerned, they've beaten the teams that they should have beaten. They've lost to the Ravens, who they should have lost to. They're right where they should be. What we've been saying since the day we started this podcast, before Paul even joined the group here, when me and Cougs were just running this bad boy by ourselves.
When we were just pups.
Yeah, when we were just covering the Browns and saying what we thought the Browns needed to do to be successful last year was run the ball 30 times between Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And Cougs, how many times did they run the ball this week?
Well, Chubb had 19 carries, and Kareem Hunt had 16, and I'm no math magician, but I think that that's more than 30 carries.
Yeah, I think that totals 35, if my math is correct there. And I think that 35 is, as we say, greater than 30. So that brings the Browns' record to games where Hunt and Chubb combined for even 28 carries. They don't even have to reach 30. If they reach 28 carries in the 11 games that Hunt and Chubb have been active together, the Browns are 4-0.
It's such a weird pairing. It's almost like they go hand in hand. That's so strange that every time that they carry the ball more than 30 or more than 20 times, 25 times, it's so weird that they end up winning.
In the 7 games where they have combined for 24 carries or less, they're 2-5.
It's amazing what happens when you rely on your strengths as an offense.
Now, is anybody sitting here mad that OBJ didn't get more targets, more catches, more this and that?
Nope.
As a non-OBJ owner in fantasy football, absolutely not.
As a guy who traded OBJ last week, definitely not.
Oh, wow. Nice. Good sell.
Good move.
But yeah, I mean, we saw what happens when they do rely on their strengths as the offense. And I don't know about you guys. We talk about Baker Mayfield. A lot of people bring up the fact, or the opinion, I guess, at this point, that he's a game manager. A lot of times when people hear that term, it has a negative connotation attached to it. Do you think that's a negative thing when describing Baker Mayfield in this scenario?
Cougs, I'll let you go first.
So I don't think being called a game manager is an insult. That's just my opinion. But I think it also depends on the player's idea of what a game manager is. I don't think Baker Mayfield would like to be called a game manager to his face, if that makes sense. But I feel like, from my perspective as a Browns fan, I am totally okay with him being a game manager, which I think he is.
Well, I think there's 2 methods to winning NFL football. Like, the teams that win year after year, they lose pieces but just seem to reload, they don't rebuild. And the 2 methods that teams can build elite franchises, like we've seen the Steelers do it, we've seen the Packers be perennial winners, we've seen New England do it when Brady was there. The 2 methods are running game and elite defense, or you have an elite quarterback, the elite of the elite quarterbacks. Now, we saw last year that the Chiefs' defense was nothing to write home about. Their running game with Damian Williams last year was nothing to write home about. Damian Williams owners were pissed that they wasted a 3rd-round pick on him last year in fantasy drafts. But Patrick Mahomes is an elite quarterback. He is the best quarterback in football right now. And because of that, he has a ring and a Super Bowl MVP. Now, New England's a bit of a game changer because not only did they have the elite quarterback in Brady, but they have the best coach of all time. So even if Brady didn't have the elite numbers in the last couple of years that he had in New England, he was elite when he had to be. His numbers didn't jump off the page because he didn't have anyone to impress with his stats anymore. But you see Aaron Rodgers will carry the Packers to a double-digit win total almost every year that he doesn't get hurt. And if Aaron Rodgers is hurt, or if for some reason he misses any time for the Packers, they're one of the worst teams in football. So for the Browns, we know that Baker Mayfield is not an elite quarterback yet. He was drafted 1st overall, and in my opinion, I don't think he's ever going to get to be an elite quarterback. So the next best option is to be that complementary piece that is not going to lose your team games. And when you have Kareem Hunt and you have Nick Chubb, all you need to do is not turn the ball over, and your offense is going to have a chance every time.
That's the key word right there, is turnover. When you have a quarterback that can keep the ball in his offense's hands and not force turnovers like we've seen so many Browns quarterbacks do in the past, I think that's the game changer. And now you're in an offense that's just, it's so loaded with weapons. A game manager QB is all you need in this offense to find success, in my opinion. I think you rely on that ground game. You let it open up the pass. You pass when you need to, not just because you can air it out because you want to. I think that's a recipe for success as long as the Browns follow that plan.
And now I'm going to go deep here. 2 seconds, though. Okay, longer than 2 seconds. But when our offense only had Jarvis Landry, essentially, and that was our big offseason signing, we had Jarvis, and it was Baker's rookie year. Baker played I won't say he played like an elite level quarterback, but he played like what would blossom into an elite level quarterback because the offense around him wasn't that loaded, and they did need him to do a little more. They built the offense, and to kind of go with Christian's point, the offense is at a point, or both your points actually, the offense is at a place now where we don't need Baker to ball out and throw, roll out 75-yard bombs, getting chased by a D end or anything like that. We need him to be a game manager with the talent we have. So I'm not going to say that he's forever a game managing quarterback, an Alex Smith type, because he's actually not even that safe when he throws the ball. But I do think that situationally, right now, we need him to be a game manager.
And I'm just going to add on one thing real quick, and this could turn on to a huge conversation, but I'm going to keep it short because we have other things to move on to. But Baker Mayfield in 2018 is completely different because I think we saw Baker play with a lot more confidence that season. And I don't think we've seen Baker with that kind of confidence, whether it's because of the team around him last season or Freddie Kitchens coaching or play calling or whatever. To me, he looks uncomfortable in the pocket sometimes, and he looks like he can't read pressure all the time. And I think he plays with a different mindset than he did in 18. There was nothing to lose that year, right? You're coming off an 0-16 season. You're out here trying to ball out, doing whatever. And you know what? It was successful after they fired Hugh Jackson. I think until he gets that confidence back, I have no problem with him throwing 25 times a game and not throwing any interceptions. And I think that's all they need to do right now.
And he's a competitor. So, and I know we hear that all the time. Oh, he's a competitor, blah, blah, blah. But with a competitor, I'd like to think that I've played sports or I've golfed or done something with everyone in this room to know that we are all competitors. And if you get a few wins under your belt, how much more comfortable and more confident do you approach what you're doing? I know Paul's a great golfer. He gets a few good strokes, and all of a sudden he's playing more confidently. Christian, best fantasy player ever. He's no good at real sports. I dunk on him all the time in basketball.
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding. But no, baseball, sit with Christian, right? Like, you get a few wins under your belt, you feel more comfortable. I just played Paul in Madden the other day, and I've beat him like 5 times, and I felt really good going into that game, guys. You know what I'm saying? So competitors are like, they keep winning. They need to keep winning, because once you start taking some L's, it's not that you have a loser's mentality, but I mean, who doesn't get discouraged by loss after loss?
Well, to the winning point, the proof is in the record on how the Browns can build up wins. Baker Mayfield, for his career, is 6-1 when he attempts 26 passes or less. The Browns are 4-0 when Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb combined for 28 carries. I mean, if you're not throwing the ball, you have to be running the ball. And when the Browns run the ball, they're winning. And thankfully right now, Kevin Stefanski knows that this is a run-first team. He's been a run-first coach for years now, and he was exactly what this team needed when they were in their coaching search this offseason. I think he is the guy that the Browns have needed for quite a while. And based on what we've seen in these first 3 games, now mind you, we beat the teams that we were supposed to beat. If the Browns would be 1-2 right now, we would be in panic mode because we've played 2 of the worst teams in football. Losing to the team that we should have lost to, the Ravens, and getting out of that game script and Baker throwing so many times because we were losing pretty much from the start, and then having a positive game script in the last 2 wins where we can afford to run the ball, I think this Browns team is getting more confident as they go along. And because of that, I think each player, like Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and Austin Hooper, Baker Mayfield, they're all going to embrace a lesser role and they're just going to try and perform when their number is called upon. I don't think that we're going to see OBJ fighting another kicking net because he's not getting targets early anymore.
I forgot he did that.
How could you forget that? But if he does...
He lost that fight too.
Yeah, he did. But if we do see a wide receiver start to act out because he's not getting his target share while this team is winning, send him out. We don't need him. Because the players that this offense is going to rely on is the offensive line, which is revamped in the offseason, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, who are both under contract for quite a while for this team. All I think the Browns need to do now is add talent on the defensive side of the ball, and if we can have a very good, not even necessarily elite, I don't think we need a Seattle during their dynasty type of defense, but if we can build a little bit more on the defense to get them to be a top 8 unit or a top 6 unit, not necessarily what the Steelers have right now, but if we can get them near the top of the league, this team is going to be a perennial playoff contender, which is something that the Browns have not been able to say in our lifetime.